Be professional. Okay, professional, everyone. Welcome back. We've got some new people. Thank you so much for joining us for the Love of Life retreat, November 2023, with Jenny and myself. Jenny is listening in. On my screen, she's top left. She's got a Freedom Thinking emblem. She's putting Lucia to bed. So once Lucia is asleep, which can take anything from between like 2 minutes and 5 days, Jen will be making an appearance. Let's just pray that she can be here. You don't just have to listen to me. So yeah, she's there. She's here. She's listening in. She's contributing when she can. You got to put up with the background noise if Lucy is awake. So we massively apologize about that. But that's kids. It's wonderful. Thanks, Em. Thanks for noticing. Here comes my mother with my cup of tea. I love this. Thanks, Mother. Welcome, everybody who's new. I say new, I mean, wasn't here about an hour and a half ago. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been lovely. We've really enjoyed it. It's been really nice so far. We've got 2 more days as well. So we have got until... Oh, I've lost my book. I have lost my book. I've lost all my knowledge and everything, my timings. So we're going on to 9:30, so 8 o'clock. So we've got 20 minutes before Dr. Dickon Bettinger arrives. And Dickon will be joining us for this. He will be sharing his beautiful wisdom and answering questions. We've got 2 other guest speakers over the next couple of days. So please join us if you can. This is a via donation retreat. That means people donate what they can if they find benefit in this, if they enjoy what they're hearing. Thank you so much to everybody who's donated. It helps Jen and I keep going with our work. We like to try and make our work as accessible as possible. I think I've put it in the chat. Unless the chat, no, yeah, right at the top of the chat. Oh, no. Yeah, right at the top of the chat, there's our donation information, PayPal, and our bank account details, and Jenny's PIN number and bank card. Yeah, 20 minutes before Dickon gets here. Has anybody got any questions? We'd love to hear from you lot. Has anybody got any questions? Anybody got any observations? Is there anything that's made sense where people have gone, that's different, I like that, or I don't like that? Has anybody got anything they want to say or ask? Marina, you've texted something. When we all live in... Marina, do you mind if I read this out loud? I'm guessing I'm going to wait for a text answer. Sure, cool, all right. When we all live in different realities and have different perceptions of life and events that are our self-created illusions, what is the truth? Beautiful question. Beautiful question.
Oh, fuck. Looking broken.
Cool. Sorry, I just asked you to unmute there, Francis. I was just going to mute you just as you did. What is truth? Beautiful question. Truth lies before that's created. Truth is the essence of all things. Truth is the essence of life. What we get to perceive, what we get to see as our life is a creation. It's a creation. So if there is a creation that we call our experience of life, then it would stand to reason that there is something creating. Now, everybody on earth is creating an experience of life. And as Marina pointed out, if we are all experiencing a different experience, then where is the truth? What is truth? That's what Sid called the illusion of life. We all think that the reality that we see is the truth. But in actual fact, behind this reality, there is something that pre-exists. There is something that doesn't change. There is something that has always been. It doesn't operate in time. It doesn't operate by the laws of this dimension, this worldly dimension. It operates as a state of infinity. It creates all things out of itself. It is pure love. I don't know, like I say, I don't know what love is. Personally, I don't know what love is. I know what it feels like. It is a state of being whereby it feels beautiful. I often compare it to water. Water feels wet, but water is so much more than just the feeling of wet. Truth isn't something our intellect can hold or comprehend. Truth isn't something we can find by studying. Truth is something that emerges the moment, for whatever reason, it emerges from within our inner self. It is our inner self. It's when our inner self becomes, when our essence becomes aware of itself, truth is found. And that is when people have a realization of God, if they want to call it God. That is when the duality of life collapses. And it is realized as a singular point from which all experience, all life, all everything is born from. And anybody who has that experience will describe pure love. So truth isn't something that we can really talk about because it's actually a wordless state. There are no words that can describe it because it doesn't operate in the dimension of intellect. It can't be studied. Anything that we study, anything that we comprehend is never going to be it. It is always a consequence of truth. Truth is fundamental. Truth is creator. Everything, anything that we think it is too late. Any thought that we have about it is too late. It's truth taken form, and we're looking at the form. Other than that, I don't know. Truth is that unites all, which is life itself. Not what my life's doing, not how my life's showing up, what it feels like, but life, the livingness of life. Any other than that, love, I don't know. I don't know. Anybody else? Thank you, love. Thank you for your question. You know, the beautiful thing about truth is we are all it. We are all it. It is that state of being that Jesus called the I am. That exists before the form that we've created an idea. That doesn't feel pain. That doesn't hurt. There is no suffering in the I am state. There is no judgment in the I am state. And everybody is the I am state. But what humanity has clumsily done as individuals, as human beings, is we've taken this I am creative state and it has created identities that are false. It has created identities that are illusions. And it has started to believe that that is who and what they are.
I don't need it. Sorry.
Our identities of who we think we are is an illusion. It is an illusion of our imagination, thought. Truth can never be, you can't speak about it. You can experience it. When you experience it, you know it's real. In fact, it's more real than this experience I'm having right now. A state of love, compassion, beauty. That can't be spoken about. There are no words. But the discovery of it, heals immediately. It will take your world and it will disintegrate your world, and it will throw you back into a new one, a more beautiful one. That's if you stay in your body. That's what Jesus described as the virgin birth. That birth that takes place from within yourself. When you discover who you are reborn as a human being, as a different character. You'll still walk through life creating an experience. You'll still walk through life creating an illusion, but you have a deeper awareness as to who you are, what life is. It brings with it more compassion, love, more higher consciousness, state of being, less judgment, less fear. Truth is eternal, truth is infinite. We are eternal, we are infinite. It just doesn't look like it. But nothing is as it seems. You are not who you think you are. I am not who I think I am, yet I appear exactly as I think I do. I think quantum theory points to the fact, as does a Hindu notion that came about 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, that something can be real and something can be false. Something can be true and something can be false. Something can neither be true nor false. Or something can be true or it can be false. Four ways of looking at something. It can be true and false at the same time. It can be neither true nor false, or it can be true and it can be false. And if you look at quantum physics, that aligns perfectly with quantum discovery as made over 120 years ago. Those people 4,000 or so years ago knew that. Now that makes zero sense to my intellect. Batters my head. I have a sense of what it's talking about because I personally have had an experience of going beyond this dimension. And it's an unspeakable place. It's an unspeakable mind. It doesn't work to the computer. It crashes the computer. But it's beautiful. It's who and what we are, first. It's the state of I am, like Jesus called it. Many, 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 many people have had this experience. There'll be people on this screen who know what I'm talking about. It's ruthless when it's discovered. It's indiscriminate. Is it indiscriminate? Probably not, actually. It's probably very discriminate now I say that. It appears indiscriminate. It will take you, it will wring your ego out, and it will throw it over its shoulder. And you will stand there going, what the hell was that? That was fantastic. And then you will find yourself stood in a whole new world. Literally stood on a different planet, on the same world. And everything around you will have changed. And that's when you'll realize reality is coming from within. That's when you'll see thought is so much bigger than cognition. At least I did. That's what happened for me. And that came about through observing a jackdaw after listening to Sid and seeing a jackdaw, and just literally the whole thing opened up. The jackdaw being a little crow. I think I then told a story about it afterwards, and I basically made up a story about it just for ease of conversation, and said that I realized that what was looking out of me was looking out of the jackdaw, for want of a better word. And for some reason, that was a catalyst that took a very terrified man, showed him love, showed him certain things, and then popped him back in his body. And that man's depression had gone. His anxieties and worries had gone. His need to be a hard man had died, didn't exist anymore. Dave, number one, died in August 2013. And I thank Sydney Banks for that. I thank Sid for his message. But Sid's right, it's not in the words. Because there's no words to describe it. It's inside of us. We are already it. That's why there's nothing to do. People say there's nothing to do in the principles, but then they confuse that with do nothing. No, don't confuse there's nothing to do with do nothing. There's nothing to do because you are truth, playing the game that you're not. Everybody on earth is. We're all truth, playing this lost identity game that we believe we're all separate. Separation never once took place. It has never taken place. Separation between anything and anyone never took place once. It never existed. We just believed it existed, which took us into a non-truth state. But that non-truth state was a belief that mankind carries around with itself. And slowly but surely, we're waking up to the realization that that's not true. It's not real. And science is waking up and realizing it can't be real. That's not true. Everything is a unified field, as they call it in quantum physics. They call it in quantum physics. Slowly but surely, we're waking up to who and what we actually are. The truth of who and what we actually are. It never changes. It never changed. The only thing that changed was a thought, an idea, an identity created from thought. a belief. And this is the only thing that's going to heal the world. The world is perfect as it sits. Not my perfect, not nobody's perfect, not it's good, but it's perfect. It cannot be any other way as to what it is right now. However, it will change. The world changes as mankind's mind changes. As mankind's consciousness changes, the world changes. So as more and more people start to wake up and see the relevance of the conversation, whether it be this conversation or whatever conversation it be, that brings people to the realization that we are all one. There is no separation. As that starts to take traction, which it seriously has as far as I'm concerned, I've watched over the last 10 years, this conversation go, that's just the principles. I've seen people come into it and then see something massive and then leave, say it was nothing, but they don't realize the magnitude that first insight had upon them. They become a bit blasé. We take it for granted, the magnitude of what we've actually discovered already. We should be grateful for what we've discovered. That just grows it. People talk about we're all slaves. I hear people say we're all human beings are slaves. We're not. We're free. Slaves in here. Freedom is fundamental pre-existing force, which is what we all are. Everybody's already free. Free of everything. Free of their ego the moment they realize it's an illusion. The moment they realize it's a story. It doesn't mean it's not going to crop up. But once you know what it is, it has no power. You just see it for what it is and it disappears off again. This isn't about stopping thoughts. Many people think this is about stopping thoughts. How do I get rid of thoughts? No, no, no. Thought is all the same power. That, as remember, Paul Mackey is here somewhere. We wrote on a board about how the suicide thought is made of exactly the same thing as what flavor yogurt do I want. One looks benign and not very important. The other one looks like a seriously important thought. Something we should be taking very, very seriously. But in essence, it's all made of the same thing. That creates the suicide thought, creates the idea of what flavor yogurt do I want? It's all thought. And when we come back to that singular point, that point within ourselves, the power of thought, as Sid repeatedly said, I'm not talking my thoughts or your thoughts. I'm talking about the power of thought. That's why I talk about it in nature, in the hope that people will see beyond their ego to realize the true magnitude of the power of thought, realize it's who they are, and then go off and live. Go off and live. Truth isn't in this conversation. Truth isn't in these words. Truth's inside of us. These words are creation. These words have taken form. It's too late. It's the space from which words are dreamt up. It's the space from which identities are dreamt up. I liken it to an ocean. The ocean doesn't change, but its character changes left, right, and center. Big wave, little wave, tsunami, ripple. Stormy, still. Day to day it changes. Does the character of the ocean, but the ocean doesn't go anywhere. Thanks, my man. Being fed grapes now, isn't it brilliant? Cheers, mama. All right. Dickens just arrived. That seems like a perfect time to stop. Bonjour, ça va?
Hey, my man.
You all right?
Hey ho. Yeah,
Thank
we had to move a big couch daybed out of this room. And we thought we had plenty of time to do it, but we ended up having to take the feet off. And oh my gosh, it was a huge, huge job. So
How long ago was
I
this?
just got the door put back on again this minute. So
That's how I roll. That seems to be how I roll.
there you go.
Last minute, here we go. Let's go for it. Dickon, thank you so much for joining us, my friend.
You're welcome.
We really, really appreciate you joining us, and we thank you so much for your support and love that you show us.
Yeah.
And our family. And our family.
I got an important question.
How is she?
How is she?
How is she, Jen? I think Jen, I don't know if she can answer that.
Lucia, hello.
Sounds, she's asleep, I think.
Did you guys go swimming earlier?
We did. There was frost on the ground. We went in. We got very, very cold. I was just saying to these, like, I got so cold.
Yeah.
Then I made the silly mistake of coming back and running a really hot bath, getting red hot, getting really, really sleepy just as this was about to start.
Yeah. Oh my
But it's
God.
beautiful. It was wonderful.
Yeah. The ice water woke you up and the hot water put you to sleep.
Exactly. Exactly. No, Dickon, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, mate. You're always very accommodating. And we know you're a busy man, and rightfully so. So we don't, as such, have anything that we have in line for you to talk about. I mean, I'd be quite interested to know what you use to hang your door. And but I know Jen can't speak too much because she's with Lucia right now and trying to keep Lucia asleep.
Yeah.
So
Tell me about your group. How long have you been meeting? What have you been talking about?
Okay, so we started this afternoon at 3:00 UK time. So what have we covered so far? One of the things that we covered I'm going to call it this morning because I'm not the sharpest tool in the box. This afternoon, I'll go for it. This afternoon I think it was a very relevant conversation about how in the community there's been kind of some people talking about how the principles isn't really the totality of life. The body has a major part to play in it. So we've been having a conversation around that for some of this, which I thought was a really relevant conversation. I thought it was quite an important conversation to be having because when I watched the video, I felt like it brought a lot of confusion into the conversation that I thought really could just do with ironing out. So we spoke a bit about that, how the nature of the principles really is pointing to totality, body included. It's like the body's a wonderful thing, but it doesn't serve a function, doesn't serve a purpose without mind, consciousness, and thought. It has no value without mind, consciousness, and thought. Therefore, studying the body is a wonderful thing, don't get me wrong. However, realizing the principles will help you understand trauma and how when we're talking about trauma being located in the body, trauma can't be experienced without thought. It cannot be experienced without thought. Now, whether that's cellular thought or whether that's brain thought or heart thought, it's thought. It's inseparable. It's inseparable. So we talked a bit around that, which I thought was a beautiful, Annette brought that up, and I thought it was a really beautiful thing to bring up, because I feel like that's brought a little bit of confusion into the conversation, and I send love to the individual who has brought that confusion. We've spoken about, what else we've spoken about? Listening, which was nice, first thing. And then people have spoken about what they'd like to get from this 3-day retreat. And I'm just going to read you some of them out in the hope that, or if you wish to, you may want to speak to some of them. So some of the things that we've got are, Kendra just wanted a reminder. Paul Mackey, he wanted to cheer the fuck up. Excuse his language. Actually, that was my language for him. Somebody wanted to top up and to understand how to deal with somebody's low mood. Somebody else is asking for peace of mind.
Ooh.
Not being bothered by overthinking.
By what thinking?
Overthinking.
Oh, yeah.
This is just what, when we've asked what people are wanting to get from it, this is the answers that we've got. And then there was Annette's, what's the truth about the body? Somebody wanted a regrounding. Is nice. Somebody else wanted gaining insight into the nature of life. Welcome to the principles. Somebody's looking for the feeling. And I love this one. This was Emma, wherever Em's gone now. She disappeared. Oh, she's there. I don't recognize you with your lovely dark hair. Emma was acceptance of self, which I think is a beautiful one. So if there's anything there that catches your eye and takes your fancy and you fancy expanding on, that would be wonderful. Jenny's here.
Can you answer?
Oh, what am I answering?
Me on Telegram Scott, so I can need to go to you.
Jenny's not here, sorry. Jenny's coming though, I believe.
Good.
So that's what the people who are here at the beginning were looking for. So if there's anything there, Dickon, that catches your eye and you fancy expanding on it and talking about it, that would be wonderful.
They certainly have all been things I've been curious about. Everyone. Each one is an opportunity to see something deeper about our experience in life and what's possible for us. Each one. You could say each one is just a doorway into the same room. Well, it's a good list. You must have had quite a day so far. Hey, thanks, everybody. Thanks,
I've enjoyed it. Sorry.
What's that?
I was just saying, I've enjoyed it. It's been wonderful.
I'll bet. I was just walking. I live on an island, actually. It's very close to the mainland. And so there's bridges that come over to the island. So I get island living and I don't have to take ferries to get to our island. And so we have beaches all around us. And our dog's favorite thing is going to the beach, and we throw sticks and he runs full speed for the whole time we're down there. It's neat to see his exuberance. And I've never met a human being that doesn't have that exuberance inside them, but it sure can get dampened and covered up by all the thinking we do. It became very apparent during the pandemic when kids of all ages had to stay home, couldn't be with their friends, weren't at school. I have 2 older grandkids that gave them an opportunity to be on their phones almost full time. And when we open our eyes and look out and we see things, the intellect is built to think about anything you give your attention to. So it'll keep generating ideas and concepts. So I look out the window here and there's our car, and right away my intellect starts going, oh, there's still dew on the windows from how cold it was this morning. And I love the way the light is casting shadows on the car. And we have these huge tall trees behind it. I'm so glad we were able to get them pruned. You see how the intellect works? As soon as you focus on anything, it'll start thinking. Nothing wrong with that, but if we live in our own thinking, in other words, if you do more and more thinking all day long, I don't care what you're thinking about. We can never experience the things you're interested in while we're thinking. Can't find peace of mind while you're thinking. Can't. It's impossible. You can't think and listen at the same time. You can't cheer up if you're always thinking. It's impossible. If I wanted to drive somebody crazy, I'd just say, keep thinking about anything you want. Just keep thinking. You know, babies are born and they don't conceptualize, so they're just fully present. They don't miss anything. They're just awake, aware, responsive. And as we get older, we start doing more thinking, and you can see evidence of that, like with the teenagers during the pandemic who were on their phones all day long thinking, became extremely anxious and depressed. And I can't tell you how many calls I got from parents whose teens had become suicidal even, because you can't experience well-being while you're thinking. It's impossible. I don't care who you are. You could be the most brilliant person in the world. If you're always thinking, you won't have peace of mind. You'll get very bothered by things. You won't be grounded. You won't have insights. Your feeling will be very serious on one end and very stressed, disturbed, upset on the other end. Can't accept yourself when you're caught up in and identified that who you are is what you think and feel. Isn't it interesting? Most adults, when they start having difficulty of any kind, what do? Innocently, what do? More thinking. Isn't that interesting? So one of the first things that my teacher, Sydney Banks, used to say to us is, no human being can think their way to well-being. I don't care who they are. It's impossible. In other words, when we use our mind only as a conceptual mind, we're using our mind like a computer. And if you go to a computer, it's a wonderful tool. I'm so glad we can think and have ideas and concepts. But what I'm finding out in my life is it doesn't work out well for me if I spend all my time on my computer. So we say to our kids, you've had enough screen time. Put your phone down. Hello? We're going to limit the amount of screen time you have. Could you imagine if we did that to adults? We're going to limit the amount of thinking time we're going to give you today. you can have 2 hours of thinking time and 6 hours of being like a baby, fully present, awake, not thinking about anything, not paying attention to thoughts as they flow through in the background. Do you know what kind of day that would be for someone? 6 hours with a mind free and clear of all the thinking that creates our tension and stress. One time I had the idea, what if I had a little switch on the side of my head and I could switch the language I think in from English to Chinese, which I don't understand. So it's still, my thinking is still going away, yammering away in Chinese, but I don't understand a single word. So when my thinking goes, oh, that was stupid, Dick, and why did you do that? It would be zing, dao, zhong, zhong, and I wouldn't respond or react to it. If I didn't give my attention to my thinking, it would, as it does, quiet down more and more and more, go into the further into the background. It'd still be there when you could still, if you paid attention to it, but if you didn't pay attention to it, it would fade away. What's left for any human being when their thinking fades away? What's still here? Like if right now, just for fun, you didn't pay any attention to thoughts you were having and you just relax. It's called being present. It's no big deal. You do it. I could follow you around and point out to you when you were being fully present during the day. You can't be fully present and think at the same time. If just for a moment, Sid would say, if just for one moment, you could go beyond your conceptual mind, just where you're not paying any attention to your thoughts, where any thought you have doesn't mean anything. Just for a moment. What would that be like? Who are we when we're not thinking and having the thoughts generated by the thinking that we do? And it's only tension, stress, and upset is only created by the thinking we do when we're not holding a single thought. Tension, stress, and upset all go away. So when we are not holding thought and we're just resting in the present moment, it's just ordinary. It's as ordinary as can be. How far away is any human being from the present moment? It's always here, but for our thinking. We can only talk about the dimension of life that's formless by using metaphors. So the mystics and the scientists have been using metaphors forever to try and remind us scientifically and in truth, we are connected to the field of energy in which we exist. I can explain that to a little kid. So here's a metaphor. Recently, a group of very esteemed, well-known scientists who have been studying the energy of our universe came up with a research study where they said, if you take everything in our universe that you can see with instruments, so like the largest telescopes and the most powerful subatomic microscopes, and if you take everything that has form that can be seen with instrumentation, measure the energy of all of that, what percentage of our universe is visible? It's only around 4%. 96% of our universe, they say, is formless energy. It's the quantum field. It's infinity, because they've never been able to find the edges of any universe. There's an infinite field of energy. And what do the mystics and the physicists say about that infinite field of energy? It creates everything that has form. So there's an intelligence built into this formless field of energy because it knows how to create everything that exists. Look around you. Everything you see did not exist at some point. No exception. You didn't exist at some point. Oh my God. First, there's no cells, and then there's two cells, and then they get together and have a party, and then pretty soon there's more and more cells. Where are they coming from? And then to be able to be present at the birth of 4 of our children, grandchildren, and watch a little baby come into this world, and it's just this little teeny, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. I'm here with my 18-year-old grandson. He's huge. It's a miracle in life that out of nothing, everything comes. That's the miracle. That's the one principle, is that there's an infinite field of formless energy, and everything is born, birthed, created, and temporarily lives as form. And then the form disintegrates and it goes back into the field of energy. And the physicists tell us energy is never lost. It just changes shape and form. So we're just little temporary bundles of energy physically. That's our body, but it's part of the infinite field. Now, here's a metaphor. Our body is part of the infinite field of energy the way a wave is a part of the ocean. It's all one. A wave takes form. It exists for a little while. It can have all different sizes and shapes. And then at some point, it goes back into the formless. But we're all oceans of energy. We are connected to that intelligent field of energy that knows how to beat our hearts and create energy in our brains so we can perceive life, so that we can have senses. It's just a freaking miracle. Every moment is a miracle. When we started getting a sense of this from Sid as students, and I'm still a student as much as anybody, and we would walk around going, oh my God, I'm feeling this way. This too is brought to me by mind, consciousness, and thought. What's mind? The intelligence in the infinite field that knows how to create. It's formless. The brain is part of that mind because that's the wave formed part of the mind. But it's all one. There's no separation. Ocean and wave. How far does the wave have to go to be the ocean? Nowhere. How far do we have to go to access wisdom? Nowhere. Nowhere. We're connected. We're always connected. We can have thoughts that make it seem like we're separate and different and stupid and smart and happy and sad, and we can have all these ideas, but it sure is cool once in a while, just for fun, to let go of everything we're thinking and have no ideas and be like a baby again. What's that like? Whoa. You don't have to think about what you're doing, you just do it. You're being lived by wisdom. You don't have to think about it. That's not mystical or mysterious. It's very practical. When you drive a car, you have to let go of a lot of your thinking, or you won't be present enough to drive your car. If you don't stop thinking while you drive a car, you're going to have accidents left and right. So here you are. I've driven through the Lake District. Teeny little roads. They're about the size of one lane. 2-lane highway in England is a 1 lane in the United States. And you go right toward the other car, and at the last minute, your hands are constantly making adjustments, and you move out of the way so your side view mirrors can just miss by a little fraction. Going really fast, both cars. Now, here's my question. What's moving your hands as it moves? Because your hands are continually turning the wheel, making adjustments. Are you using your intellect to do that? Are you going, okay, how far do I have to turn it now? Do I turn it now or in 5 seconds? Do I turn it a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch? No, there's a deeper intelligence that's guiding our hands as we drive. Dave and Jen and I love hiking around through the Lake District. Every time my wife and I would come to visit, we go for long hikes. And it's very interesting as you hike down a steep grade that's full of ups and downs and rocks and tree roots, to watch your legs. As you're walking down, they're doing a dance. They just keep moving all over everywhere. And you're not doing it. You're not thinking it. What's doing that? The intelligence behind life. And isn't it interesting that when people are having difficulty, they do more thinking, which while we think, we don't access that intelligence directly. Watch someone who's very intelligent do too much thinking while they're driving, they'll drive right off the road. It doesn't matter how intelligent they are. It's been great for me to discover that during family crisis, the quieter my mind gets, the better I do. The less I am in my computer, the less I think I have to know what to do, which is what the intellect insists. You have to figure it out. The less I know what to do, the more present I am. The more present I am, the more I have access to the wisdom of the universe. And so do you. It's living you all day long. When you walk through a room in your house or apartment, your legs keep moving so you don't bump into furniture. That's wisdom in action. If I threw a ball to you, you wouldn't have to think about it and use your intellect. You wouldn't have to go to your computer and Google, how do I catch a ball? Your hand would just come up. It's unbelievable. Play catch with a little kid. Watch them learn to trust wisdom. And before you know it, they'll be catching the ball. That same wisdom is the intelligence of the universe. So if you're having difficulty in your life, the more you access wisdom, the better you do. So the intelligence behind life is what Sid Banks called the principle of mind. Why did he use the word principle? Because most people think he's talking about concepts, and he's not. There's another definition for principles in the dictionary, and it means that which is most fundamental. So he said there's nothing more fundamental than that which is most fundamental. In other words, there's nothing beyond infinity, and mind is the infinite intelligence in the field of infinite energy in all the universes. And everything is part of that because we're all part of that ocean of consciousness. Sid would say, no human being is wiser than you are, but you don't access your wisdom while you're caught up in your thinking. The deeper you understand wisdom, as soon as you feel tension, stress, and upset, you let go of everything you're thinking. You close your laptop. You put down your screen, and you stand wide open and receptive so that wisdom can guide you. I watch the news and I see the horrors of war. Every time I turn on the news, the horrors of people caught up in their thinking, trying to control life and control other people. And if I start thinking too much about it, I start getting so upset that sorry. No wonder the phone's ringing. I have my wife's phone. She's probably trying to find it. Here's the other cool thing. This infinite field of no-thingness, the great nothingness. The Buddhists talk about the great emptiness. Hindus talk about the great nothingness. Taoism talk about the Tao, the energy of the Tao. Christians call it the mystery or the silence. It's been talked about in every culture by people who have fallen out of their conceptual mind and access something that's always here rather than something that comes and goes. That's why we're called human beings. The human is the part of us that's coming and going and changing constantly. The human is the change. The being is the constant. Being is another word for the infinite field of life energy. We're human beings. Or you could say each of us is a wave on the same ocean. There's one being. And it appears as if there's many humans. But in truth, it's all water. It's all ocean. It's all the same stuff. So another cool thing about this infinite field, one cool thing is that it's intelligent because it knows how to create out of nothing everything. And it knows how to operate what's created. I mean, how cool can that be? Aren't you grateful you don't have to operate your pancreas? Can you imagine if the universe says, okay, at 10 o'clock tonight, I'm going to stop being the intelligent behind your pancreas. It's up to you to run it. unbelievable the beauty and mystery of this formless, intelligent, wise energy. Okay. There's another quality of this infinite field of energy that's just evident when you reflect on it. Sid called it universal consciousness. The infinite field itself is conscious. So that you can be aware of anything. Everything that's created from the no-thingness has awareness. Every cell in the universe has awareness. Why? Because it's created from awareness. We're conscious beings. If you let go of everything you're thinking, you'll lose a sense of yourself as a separate this, that, or the other thing. You'll just be a presence, a living presence. No form. Some people call that our soul. Sometimes people use soul when they talk about pure consciousness. It's aware life energy. So that everything that's created is created from aware life energy. So it's able to have all different kinds of energy, awareness, kinds of awareness. I love that when I fall out of my thinking, I become more awake and more conscious. Another way of saying that is if you're walking in the woods or walking through the incredible pastures of the Lake District, walking along some of those beautiful stone walls, if you're with a friend and you're both thinking up a storm, you won't see the pasture and you won't see the walls and you won't see the beauty all around you because you can't think and see beauty at the same time. Now, if you go for a walk with someone and you both get really present and quiet, you can't help it. You'll see beauty everywhere. I worked with a woman who was clinically depressed. And as she started to realize how much of her own thinking was creating her depression and her upset and she began to fall out of more and more of that thinking. What does that mean? She just started being more present. She stopped holding on to those thoughts, listening to them and believing them. She did what Sid Banks would say, you can just ignore what you're thinking at any moment. And she came into my office and she goes, Dicken, oh my God, the trees, I can't believe it. I said, what do you mean? She says, they have so much color. I've lived here for 10 years and I haven't seen any of the colors. Everything has been in black and white. This is what they call coming to your senses. As your mind gets quieter and quieter, you become more intelligent and wise. You become more conscious and awake and aware of life's beauty everywhere you look. People look nicer as the dark filter of your thinking falls away and you're left with a clarity and your senses come alive. You go to a restaurant, you can order the greatest thing on the menu. If you're thinking the whole time, you won't taste the food. You'll be, what's the fuss about this restaurant? I have some friends, I go to a restaurant, they get so present that every single smell and taste and bite is like the best they've ever had. Sid talked about it's only in a quiet mind can we access greater wisdom. It's only in a quiet mind can we access greater happiness, which is when our senses come alive. That's what happiness is. It doesn't come from outside. It comes from when we uncover our senses. I just spent 4 days with my youngest grandkids, 7 and 3. Oh, she just turned 4. Oh my God. 90% of the day, they're in pleasurable presence. Running around, everything is fun. We take them to the park. Oh my gosh, every little thing. Take them to a playground. Oh my gosh, the joy. Running around, joyful. If I get quiet, I share that joy with them. If I'm in my head, I could be worrying about something. I wouldn't feel joy, and I wouldn't even see their joy. So consciousness is a universal part of the 96% turned into the 4%. Who we are is not the 4%. That's what Sid called ego. If you think you are your thoughts and feelings and behaviors, you're only seeing a fraction of who you are. It's only in a quiet mind we can discover I'm more than my insecure, worried, negative, upset thinking, feeling, behavior. If you let go of stressful thought, the stress goes away. You let go of insecure thought, the insecurity goes away. Why is that? They're temporary forms. They come and go. But there's something here underneath that doesn't come and go. You, your true self, as a wise, conscious, sensory, tuned in, loving. We'll get to the loving part. You know what they say about the formless energy of the universe? Even though you can't see it, it's expanding. What happens to human beings when they're caught up in thought? All that energy contracts. That's what unhappiness is. That's what fear is. That's what sorrow is. That's what anger is. That's what hurt is holding on to thoughts that we think are true, and then we identify with it. That's suffering. That's the only way a human being can suffer psychologically. That is the only way. And when people let go of all of that thinking, it's just energy held, and it falls away. And the nature of energy is to expand. So we start feeling, human beings can only feel contraction or expansion. Our bodies only do one of two things that contract, and we call that all different kind of contracted emotions. And if you let go of thought and feeling, that energy is no longer held and contained, so it expands. If you take a little match and light it, the light from that match will expand and keep going out into the universe, and you can measure it if you were on another planet. That's why light has been used as a metaphor for consciousness. Light has been used as a metaphor for consciousness. Go to the light. Lighten up. Dickon, would you lighten up? You've gotten so heavy. I'm in my ego. I'm holding on to my thoughts. I'm thinking that that's who I am and who you are. And then I fall out of that into this vast, spacious presence. And I feel better. I've seen no exceptions to this. We're all radiant beings. We're all made of light. is scientific. We're all made of light, and darkness is just a temporary contraction of light. Your body is a temporary contraction. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's a cool part of the universe. The 4% is very cool. But when we think that that's all there is to life, we're screwed, basically. We're going to suffer terribly. I love knowing that at any time I fall out of all of my thinking and go deeper and deeper into that quiet presence, that for no reason I'll start feeling better. And I'll have a much easier time knowing what to do in situations. That's why they say if you're in a life and death situation, stay calm. They never say if you're in a life and death situation, think yourself into a frenzy. What is stay calm? Stop listening to and holding on to your thinking and just stay in the present moment. Even if you're freaking out, if you're present, you're more open and receptive to wisdom, the light of wisdom shining through your clouded mind. One other aspect of this infinite field of energy, it's where everything is created and it's full. So the formless dimension of thought is infinite creative potential. In other words, when your mind gets quiet, you will get a stream of new and fresh thinking and insights, inspiration, motivation, new and fresh perspectives, feelings that uplift. There's no end to the creative possibilities. It's given to us freely if we surrender to the moment. We become open and receptive to that radiant flow of conscious, loving, wise energy. In sports, when people fall out of their thinking mind and become fully present, they say they're in the zone. And they say any athlete will be at their best when they're in the zone. I took this into big businesses as business people learned to balance their time so they didn't spend all of their day in their computer mind, and they had access to a deeper intelligence and a deeper feeling. Their creativity went up, their job satisfaction went up, their ability to communicate went up, their ability to solve problems went up. The amount of stress they had went way down. The amount of difficulties they had at work went way down. So here's the simplest I can say it, and the simplest I heard it from Sid, because he said, I've only been saying, it's so simple what I've been telling you. If you start seeing that holding thought is the only thing that's the problem for you psychologically, you'll be very grateful when you feel tension, stress, or upset. It's like an alarm clock going off to wake you back up to the present moment. Thank God we feel stress and angry and hurt and upset. It's inviting us to fall open. Why? So that we can let the 96% weigh in on this. So we can let wisdom weigh in on this. So we can lighten up in consciousness so that we can access new and fresh thinking. So that we can allow the life energy to expand and radiate, which is what love is. So we can bring love and understanding into whatever situation we're dealing with. So listening come back to your list. Listening is understanding that when you're not thinking, you're listening. What's listening? Wisdom is listening and responding. The reminders from Sydney Banks. Look within. If you know that holding thought's the problem, drop out of thought, fall out of thought, let go of thought, come back to the present moment, and here's what you'll find. That beneath your thinking, there's always a quiet. It's always there. So I'd say look for silence. Stop thinking for a moment and register on, be aware of the quiet of presence that's always there. If you're in the ocean on the surface, it'll be really loud and rough. You drop down a foot and it's quiet. It's always there. So I say, look within. There's quiet. And when you're in that quiet space of presence, your soul, be aware of the feeling, because the energy in that space is expanding, not contracting. You don't have to label it because you're not in your conceptual mind. There's no word in any language for it other than it's pleasant or it's a nice feeling. It's our well-being. Well-being is just when we align ourselves with universal radiant life energy. So there's quiet, there's a feeling, and when we're in a quiet feeling state, there's all kinds of knowing available to us, common sense, insights, inspiration, just knowing what to do, knowing what's right, knowing how to respond to somebody who's yelling at you, knowing when to stay and when to leave a situation. Oh, this feels right. Oh, this feels right. It's a knowing. Wisdom is a formless intelligence before it hits the intellect. Love is a feeling before it hits the intellect and gets labeled. True creativity is a movement before it hits the intellect and gets labeled and diminished by an idea or a concept. The concept of love is a diminishment, an incredible diminishment of what love is. So, at any moment, we can metaphorically step within and be aware of the silence, the quiet, and then the feeling. Sid would say, listen for a feeling, the feeling of being alive right now. It's there always. And then there's a knowing, silence, pure thought, love, pure consciousness, knowing, pure mind, before it's taken form. It's only in a quiet mind we can discover our true nature. If you think about the principles, you'll never discover what Sid was trying to point you toward, because he didn't find what he was trying to share with us through thinking. He died. That's what true enlightenment is, the complete death of who you think you are. But then he found that his true self could never die and is an infinite field of life energy, and it was here before he was born, will be here after he was born, and it's his essence, because without that we couldn't live for an instant. Grounding. We can talk about falling out of our head into a space where we find, where we become kinder, more loving. If I'm with my wife and I'm annoyed and bothered with her, I used to think that had to do with her. Then I thought, well, maybe it has to do with our relationship. Now I know it has to do with Dickon is holding on to thoughts and thinking that's who he is. And then he's judging other people from that place. Because when I let go of everything I'm thinking, when I feel annoyed, bothered, upset with my wife, guess what happened? She looks better. I stop feeling bothered. If she's totally caught up in her thinking and acting in an unkind way, I can have compassion for her rather than being angry at her. You could take any situation, any problem, any difficulty, any challenge, and if you drop into this space of quiet, knowing, feeling, loving, I guarantee you'll find your answer. Sid called that space the ultimate answer. Why is that? Because you've reconnected and aligned with the universal intelligence that knows how to create life itself, knows how to operate the universe. Brings awareness to everything, full of creative potential. You're never stuck. So the acceptance of self, that's a great one. Which self are we talking about? Ego self, or that's the 4%, or the true self, which is 100%. So acceptance of self is like the discovery of the beauty of the universe, the interconnected beingness of the universe, the universal unconditional love. That's the truth. If fear comes and goes, and when you fall out of thinking, you always feel closer to things, trees, animals, plants, flowers, people, then love is what's always here, true, available, and fear is just thinking that comes and goes. And when you let go of fear, there's only love. So fear is love in disguise. Well, Dave, that's why I said when you read off the list and you said you can speak to whatever you're inspired by from the list, it was like it's all fascinating stuff, because it's all, as we get quieter, we discover the answer to every one of those things on the list is found within this space within us that's quiet, that's full of deep feeling, and that's full of knowing. And that's where if we start looking in that direction, we get more and more familiar with that space, more and more comfortable being in it, more and more likely to go there immediately when we feel tension, stress, or upset. More and more trusting that we'll find what we're looking for there, not outside of us, but inside. Do we have time for comments and conversation, Dave, or do you usually finish now?
No, if you're good, mate, we're hoping that we've got you till 9:30, which is about another 25 minutes.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, there was when you it was quite ironic, really. You were talking about how you can move through your house, and your legs will skillfully just avoid the furniture. And I looked down, sat on the floor. There's Jenny with an ice pack on her nose because she's gone down to see Lucia
In the pitch black.
in the pitch black, and she didn't know that I'd shut the door. And she's walked into the door. Sorry, Jen.
We
My
could
fault.
we could have a whole session on the stupid things we do while we're caught up in our thinking.
Bless her. I felt really bad.
There's
It was
no
quite
end,
interesting.
no end to that list. Oh my God, I've done some of the stupidest things.
Bless her. She's good, I think. I don't think it's broken, is it?
I think so.
She don't think it's broken. You know, you're talking about energy expansion, and you know, when we fall out of our thinking, we find ourselves in a more expanded place. I was taught dowsing at college, like some roughy tufty farmers bent us a couple of arc welding rods, and we set off across this field looking, set off across this field looking for this water pipe. And none of us are looking at each other because we're busy looking at our rods and walking forward, and we're waiting for them to cross. Are they going to cross? We've never done this before. Are they going to cross it? What's what we're expecting? And all of a sudden these rods cross, and you stop dead, and I look up, and we're all stood in a perfectly straight line. We dig down. There's the pipe. We fix this broken pipe. You can see it's collapsed. You can understand why the field's not draining. Anyway, later on, I was shown that you could measure people's energy fields with these dowsing rods, and you can hold them, you walk towards them, and they cross. And the average distance is probably 18 inches out from the body, is like somebody just at rest. And Kelly and Ali were there when I did this. My niece, she was on her mobile phone. She'd been on it. I believe she was bragging she'd had 6 or 7 hours of screen time that day. And I thought, that'll be really interesting. Let's check this out. Let's see how this goes. I wanted to check her energy field. Kel, were you there when we did this? Ali, were you there? You were there. Kelly was there. And I set off walking towards her, and I thought there was something going wrong because I literally got to within about that far off her before the rods slowly closed. When she was on her mobile phone for that period of time, her energy contraction had just gone. Her life force, her life contraction that I could normally measure to within a foot, 2 foot of her, had gone to within, I thought it was just a really interesting observation more than anything. It had gone to within about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of her. And when we were testing people, we stood up and we just measured ourselves, and then we invited in love. We invite in love. Think about loving things. Speak to, if you've got guides, speak to your guides, speak to love, invite in love, generate the feeling of love. And when you generate the feeling of love and you walk towards somebody, you only take a few steps towards them before the rods cross. And all of a sudden, this 12 inch, 18 inch has suddenly gone to perhaps 3 or 4 foot. You know, and we can measure that with our dowsing rods. And that's such an interesting thing, you know. It's to see that when we're in love, we expand, we become bigger. We become bigger in spirit, like you were talking about with the universe. I think it's a really beautiful thing to have that. And this is why when people start to come across this conversation, they start to feel enlivened by love. We seem to be able to reach out to more people. It's not just done with the word. It's done with the field. I love that. So, Jen, do you want to say anything?
And I'd love for people to have time for questions.
Can I show them you or not?
You said you love me.
It's fun.
Sorry, Jen.
We
Oh,
never close that door.
Do we not?
No.
No, we don't. Sorry about that, everyone. So, right. Any questions? Oh, yeah, Melissa. Any questions for Dickon? What I think will probably be the best way is if people can either raise their hands virtually or wave. For those who can't raise their virtual hand. Instantly, we've got Annette Stein.
Is it off?
Elizabeth,
Chicken.
hi. Oh my gosh. You've made my day. Oh
You've
my
made
God.
mine. You've made
God
mine.
bless you. God
Oh,
bless you.
Dickon, yesterday I was in the hospital. I've got the virus, and it
Had.
was the worst day of my life
Mm.
because I had all that time to think and do nothing else. And today I'm home and I'm
Yeah.
seeing you. I can't believe it. I really can't. It's just, it's unbelievable. It's the best day of my life today. I'm not over it, but it's still the best day.
Yes.
And thank you so
Yeah.
much for your presence. Your presence at my, you're just with me. And oh, I love you.
I love you too. I feel the same way. We met, I don't know how many years ago it was. It was probably, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe at a retreat.
Yes.
And,
Yes. Oh gosh.
It was, we recognized we were kindred spirits as soon as we met.
Yeah.
You
I couldn't understand it then, but I can understand it now.
know? I don't understand it now.
No,
I just know when I fall out of myself, I don't have to understand it, and it's beautiful.
Well, you're very special. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're a sweetheart. Thank you. Mm. Thank you, Annette. Oh, Annette, it's so good to see you.
Aye.
What a treat. Thank you for letting me chat with your mom. Wow.
Thank you, Dickon.
That was beautiful. That was lovely.
Thank you.
You know, I find very often at the end of a talk, it's not so much the questions that are there for people, but something is moving or got touched. And that wasn't because of me, it was because of you. You got quiet enough that wisdom then was moving things inside. Kelly, how about you? What was happening for you?
Well, I decided I wasn't going to say anything today, but I
I
can't help myself.
I was
Um,
tuned into you from the beginning, so I wasn't going to let you get away with that.
I was so touched. I felt tears well up inside me. I just felt it's just a huge expansion of love. And I mean, I love listening to you, and I love listening to Jenny and Dave. Jenny and Dave have been like so generous to me over the years, and you also. But yeah, I felt welled up, and now my cheeks hurt, and now I can't stop smiling. It's been it's been a crazy couple of months for me, and I've managed to stay in a space. Even though I've been caught up and I've had to deal with stuff, I've managed to stay in a space, sometimes not so present and other times really present. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you guys helped me find that space, or somehow you led me to it. I don't know. But yeah, I just felt really overwhelmed. So I love it. I just love it.
Oh, you were sure listening deeply to be that touched.
Oh, I was listening deeply to you. Yeah, my heart was just like,
Yeah.
my heart was tingling, and I was getting hot, and my chin, and then the tears came, and then the smile came, and then the tears came, and then the smile came. I'm happy with that. Yeah.
I mean, I would not have stayed interested in exploring, not thinking about, but exploring the depth of being, looking in the direction of quiet and deeper feeling and deeper knowing. If it didn't just do that to me too, and do that to my clients and do that to my family. And when we get really, really quiet, it just awakens unconditional peace, joy, and love. And it doesn't even have to be a feeling you can label it. It's just a beautiful feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it when I just have that connection with somebody, being to being, and that feeling just wells up, and you can see that eyes get really shiny and bright, and they kind of want to shed a tear. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Cal. That means a lot to all of us.
I
I think
know I say thank you to all the time, but I mean it so much. You've been such a blessing in my life.
Oh, we know.
Dave.
You were a pain in the ass before.
Oh, don't be mean.
Joking, I'm joking. We
I
love
know.
you, Cal. Oh, seriously, we love you, Cal. Thanks so much. But I love what you just touched on just then, Dick. And I know you've been around this a few decades now. I've only been around it 1 decade. But I
Well,
don't know.
that doesn't make any difference. We touch that space and it
Absolutely.
just,
No, absolutely. But I love that point. You know, it really isn't time-based. It really isn't. That's the illusion. That's part of the
yeah,
illusion.
it's definitely not
That's what we
time-based.
get caught up.
There were people around Sid Banks for 30 years who kept thinking about it constantly, and they didn't get anything really.
No.
And there were other people, as the first time they heard him open his mouth, they dropped into that space and were realized that
I was
there's
one of those. I was one of those fortunate people who
you
didn't
were,
get
Dave.
didn't
You
have to
were.
spend a lot of time, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think one of my observations of that is because I hadn't created a concept as to what I thought I was looking for through looking and listening to other people.
Yes.
I hadn't created this idea as to what I think I should be finding. It was just it unveiled itself to me, and once I discovered it, it was like, right, that's the most beautiful space. But what you touched on before was the time that you've been around this, and I think what just came to my mind is I always have the piss taken out of me. Like 1 minute I like felting animals, like making little felted animals 1 minute. You know, that's what I'm onto. And then it's suddenly I'm lino printing. I've mastered felting animals. I'm going to go on to lino printing. Right now I'm lino printing. Now I've got a drone. I'm going to fly my drone for a bit. I've mastered flying a drone. I still love metal detecting, don't get me wrong. I haven't lost that geek. What else have I done? Jewelry making. Now I'm onto jewelry, making bits and pieces of jewelry. I'm always faffing with something. Kites, power kites and buggies and all kinds of stuff. I'm
Looking for old coins.
yeah, you know, and like just all my hobbies they come and they go and they come and they go. But there's one thing that hasn't come and gone. The one thing that I discovered in my life that became my ultimate hobby is this conversation, is this growing in awareness and growing in appreciation for the nature of life, growing in appreciation for the nature of the principles. You know, there's not many things I've carried on for the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, I've stopped drinking. You know, I've made adjustments in my relationships. I've changed where I live. I've done got countless things around the world. But the one thing that hasn't changed is my deep appreciation and gratitude for discovering what I discovered. And I think that's the most exciting thing for me. And I think it's the hobby that just keeps on giving. It's the hobby that keeps on turning out gold.
Yeah.
Metal detectors only ever turned up one piece of gold. It was a good piece, but this keeps on turning out gold, and I'm eternally thankful.
Anybody else have something you either really heard, or if you have a burning question?
Yes.
Vera, love. We can hear you. We can hear you, love.
Now better?
Yeah, that seems
Yeah.
to be.
Great. I really love the conversation, and I could quite happily just listen. But one question keeps popping up, which is, I'm working with somebody who's been in a very, very tight, very, very black hole for a year and a half. And mind is freewheeling. The thinking is freewheeling.
Yeah.
And it affects everything. Like it affects digestion and like not perceiving any beauty whatsoever. So what would be the very first step? You know, I feel my way forward, and I love that work, and I have a feeling, you know, we'll find our way. But like,
Yeah, yeah.
if there was like any idea or something, yeah, just what comes, I would love to hear that from anybody. Like, yeah.
It's been a relief to me that I never need to know what to say or do because wisdom knows. And all I need to do is become as quiet and as present as I can when I'm with that person. And then out of that quiet, things might occur to me to say or to do or to, and just trust whatever comes, wherever it takes you. Wherever it takes you. I one time talked for half an hour with a person who was depressed about their beautiful sweater. That's what kept coming up. And it gradually brought them to be more present, because if you're fully present, there's nothing more powerful to help draw someone into the present moment with you. If you're thinking about them, how they're doing, if you're thinking about what to say, what to do, it won't have that same kind of magical effect that can help bring someone right into the present moment. And often people who are depressed are not used to being around people that are present. They're used to being around people who also, for whatever reason, are doing an awful lot of thinking. So you're being a person with a difference. But it's a relief to know you don't have to know what to say or do. Because otherwise you'd be thinking about what to say and do. And oh man, you end up joining them rather than inviting them into your world. You're going into theirs.
Certainly what I can identify is like when I think I need to make a difference.
Yes. Oh, I know.
That's that's not up to me.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, like in a situation like this one, of course I want to help. Of course I want to make a difference, you know, and like my expectation to wanting to make a difference, then screws it all up. I'm aware of that.
Well, you have a really nice feeling, Vera. So if you're there with that person in that lightness and in that feeling and being present and kind, it doesn't matter what you talk about. It'll be helpful and healing for that person. Thanks. Dave, there was a message from Marina.
Yeah, there was. I just wanted, can I just speak to Vera one sec? Just something that kind of I think is really useful to always remember. I was cutting Jenny's mum's hedge. I didn't want to be cutting Jen's mum's hedge. I didn't want to use a chainsaw. I really didn't want to be doing it. I'd already done it. I'd asked her, do you want it spirit level straight or do you want it going with the land, gradient of the land? She said spirit level straight. I cut it spirit level straight. I thought we were on the same page. We weren't. I didn't want to spend another day cutting it. I got in a right bad mood, flung the chainsaw about, stuck it in my leg. Thankfully, I was wearing my chainsaw pants. Got hold of my chainsaw and threw it across the garden, took my helmet off, booted it down the garden. I was stopping at your Auntie Sue's, wasn't I? I'm going home. I was in a right foul mood. Didn't want to be doing that job. And I went home and I sat in the bath for 3 hours till it went cold. I was in such a bad mood, such a grumpy mood. And the next day I woke up and this little phrase came into my head. This little saying, this little voice came in my head, and it said, you know, the further into suffering you go, the further into unreality you have entered. That's all it said. I was like, so true. And I think one of the beautiful things when we come across this is we realize the wholeness of ourselves, and then we realize the wholeness of other people, that everybody is fundamentally there all right. And you learn to speak to that all rightness in them. Like Dickens saying, I'll speak to your sweater. Let's speak to that sweater. Let's speak to that all rightness in you. And when you start to speak to the one person who saved my life, the one person who saved my life, because I wouldn't be here, I don't believe, if it wasn't for Sue. She was the only person out of psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors, family, friends, who saw me as whole. That one person. And she's the one who introduced me to Sid, and she's the one who saved my life. The one person who saw me as whole. Just don't forget that. We're all right. We're all right. And the further into suffering we go, the further into unreality we've entered. Hiya, love.
She finally came for her phone.
Oh,
I've been calling it. And
Yeah, I know.
sorry, you took yours instead of mine. Mine instead of yours.
Jenny's back there too, recovering from
Hey, Jen.
a wounded
Hey.
nose.
Oh, dear.
I was trying to be quick, so I wanted to come and listen to Dickon, and Lucia had fallen asleep on time. And then I ran downstairs to check that the monitor thing is working. And David shut the door and I didn't know, so I ran straight into the door.
Oh my gosh.
just as Dickon was talking about how your wisdom can guide you around all the obstacles in your house, I'm looking at Jenny with an ice pack on her face. It was perfect timing.
Let's amend
Well-
that when the lights are on.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Wisdom
Cozy, so
isn't
nice to see.
always working. Oh, it's good to see you too. I'm happy to see you.
Yours too, love.
I
Us
just
too.
had a question. Do you want to go to the co-op with Jacob and me? Or should we go?
Sure, we'll be done in 5.
Okay, we'll wait for you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cozy, so lovely to see you, love.
I love.
Yeah, Marina's question. How to deal with realities of other people that are totally different from yours, and it creates conflict in the relationships.
There's only one reality, there aren't two. So if you're dealing with a reality, what you're doing is experiencing your own, because that's the only reality we'll ever know. So if I'm having trouble dealing with someone, I'm having thoughts that I'm having trouble dealing with that person. And those thoughts seem true, and so they're creating a tension or a feeling of conflict. And if I see that as thought being held, as Sid would say, if you really see thought, it'll bring you right back to the now. And in the now, I don't experience any conflict. Conflict is a thought-created experience. And when you fall out of that thinking, the conflict in you doesn't exist. The other person can still be upset, but now you're just an ordinary person who's present and open to what might occur to you fresh in this moment. Free mind. So it's again, whenever we feel like there's tension, stress, upset, or a challenge in our life or a difficulty, if immediately the metaphor I like is, inside me, there's a drop-in center. And it's open 24/7. And there's no bouncer. And there's no door. And it's open to me anytime. And when I fall out of my thinking, I drop into the drop-in center. I go from my head to my heart. And in the drop-in center, there's soul food, nourishment of the soul. What does that mean? When I fall out of thinking that creates tension, stress, conflict, confusion, uncertainty, there is a quiet space within that's free of that. And then there's a feeling that's uplifting. That's one form of nourishment, feelings that uplift. And then there's common sense. That's also served up at the, oh, this makes sense to do. Oh, my friend is really upset. They see things so differently than I do. They're caught up in their thinking, their suffering. Just because they're caught up in their thinking and suffering doesn't mean I have to be caught up in my thinking and suffering. I drop into the drop-in center. I get uplifted. Bring some kindness, some presence to the other person. Now, Marina, I don't know if that was helpful or if that just muddled things up, but it's Sid's advice always was, if you're having difficulty, look within, find that quiet presence first. In Christianity, they would say, seek ye first the kingdom of God, not after I get this problem worked out or after my friend is happy or after. It's seek ye the space first thing. Eckhart Tolle gives the same advice. He says, if you're having difficulty, instead of looking out at the world, thinking about it, look into that quiet space within. And your mind will quiet down. And when it does, you'll feel better. And when you feel better, you'll know what to do.
Marina says thank you. And I think that was
welcome, Marina.
That
That
was a
is
beautiful
wonderful, wonderful. That question is so relevant to things going on these days. It's pathetic. We could talk all day about exploring in the face of other people's distress. How do we find our grounding? How do we know where to look? And most people look out and keep thinking, right? And instead of looking into that present moment, quiet. It's the opposite direction.
I love what you just said, Dickon. This, just because somebody is in their whatever upset thinking, there's no reason for me to go into mine. That is genius. It's because, like, you know, I can join. I think I joined them in theirs, but I can never do that. So inevitably, it points me back to there's only one place to go. This is genius. Thank you very much. You made my day.
That's wonderful. You really heard something. That's beautiful. We can thank wisdom for that. It brought that to mind to you and it clicked in and made sense. It's your common sense. You just demonstrated what I'm talking about. Go Vera, go Vera.
I love that answer as well. I thought that was a truly beautiful answer.
Yeah, thank you, Marina, for asking it. I think sometimes people don't think they should ask questions. Well, I think it might be a silly question or an obvious question, but everyone else benefits when you do. So thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, Dick. And I've loved it. I was sat on the floor for all of it, but then I'm so glad I made it up. Thank
It's
you.
so good to see you. And speaking of sweaters, I love that one.
Margaret just picked some holes in it for me.
Yeah. Wow.
Dickon, thank you
It's
so
delightful.
much.
Thank
You're
you.
free to
Oh my
go to the
God.
co-op.
You throw
Oh,
a
I
great
love it.
party. Yeah, go to the
It's not the
co-op.
same as the UK co-op.
Is it
It's-
not?
No, it's fantastic.
Is it?
Yeah, I'd need a mortgage if I spent too much time in
We're coming over to your co-op.
there.
No. Yes, stay
We'd
at our
love to.
bed and breakfast.
Oh, hey, now you're talking. Now
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
talking. Dickon, thank you so much, man.
Love you
We love
guys.
it. We
Thank
love you dearly,
Thank-
and we're
thank
so
you.
grateful. We're so
Thank you
grateful
for
the
having me.
support.
What a lovely way to spend my afternoon here. It's been delightful being here.
And us.
Thank you.
God
Yeah.
bless, man.
We'll talk soon.
Loads of
Okay.
love. Love to the family.
Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming. Bye, Annette. Bye, Elizabeth. Hope you're feeling better, and you're just a delight.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless. Take care.
God bless, man. All right, everyone. So we're going to call it a night. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We're so appreciative of everybody who's come in and showing your support. We hope you've enjoyed today. Tomorrow we start at 3:00 UK time. So I don't know what time that is around the world. 8:00. Jerry, where are you at again? Arizona?
10.
10. Oh my goodness, I can't even count. Sorry. Is that Arizona, Jerry?
Indiana.
Indiana, my apologies.
No,
If
you're
in
good.
Indiana, 10. All right. If you're somewhere else in the world, it's not 10. But 3:00 UK time, 3:00 Greenwich Mean Time. We hope you can make it tomorrow. Tomorrow we have got the beautiful Christine Heath. We won't be finishing at 9:30 UK time tomorrow. We'll be finishing at 9. So a little bit earlier. But yeah, we hope this 3 days, we hope you find it enjoyable. We hope you find it enlightening and everything you're looking for. And like I said, if you are on this screen, if you are here now, you're meant to be. You're here because you're ready to start moving forward and live a different life. So we just thank you all. You're all lighthouses. You're all going to go out and shine, be the light. What's that?
Yeah, just thank you. Thank you
Yep.
so much for being here. It'd be a really not so good event if we didn't have people on the
Oh, it'd be
screen.
terrible. Terrible. I love the sound of my own voice, but right, everyone. Hopefully see you tomorrow at 3:00 UK time. God bless everyone.
Lots of love.
Loads of love.